All right. Up next, Authentically Detroit is live at the 41st Annual African World Festival at Hart Plaza. But first up, today's hot take from the Detroit Free Press. Wright Museum Art Exhibition, Double ID highlights struggle of Black men. Keep it locked. Authentically Detroit starts after these messages.
Bridge Detroit is your news and engagement platform that is telling the stories of Detroiters rooted by community priorities. Started in 2020 by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Stephen Henderson, the newsroom has already established its footing as the go-to source for hyper-local perspectives that ask the hard questions, brings accountability, and searches out real solutions. It's free to become a member of this award-winning news organization. Visit bridgedetroit.com today to sign up to receive the news delivered right to your inbox. Bridge Detroit. By Detroiters, for Detroiters.
Hey, y'all, it's Orlando. We just want to let you know that the views and opinions expressed during this podcast episode are those of the co-hosts and guests and not their sponsoring institutions. Now, let's start the show.
Hello, Detroit and the world. Welcome to another episode of Authentically Detroit, broadcasting live from the African World Festival at Hart Plaza. We are a content partner to bridgedetroit.com. I am Orlando Bailey.
And I'm Donna Davidson.
And we want to thank everybody for listening in and supporting our efforts to build a platform of authentic voices for real people in the city of Detroit. We want you to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on all platforms, wherever you get your podcasts from. We are so excited to be at the 41st Annual African World Festival for the third live podcast of the week. And I am here to tell you that we are making history here at the African World Festival because we are the first podcast in 41 years to broadcast live from the African World Festival.
Yeah.
We
All
are...
right. Is my mic working?
We are super excited. Are we having a little bit of technical difficulties?
Only with, hold on. I think I can hear me a little bit.
One, two.
Okay.
1, 2, 1, 2. Can y'all hear me? All right, we
All
good,
right.
we good. So last year on our show, we convened the festival. We talked about the festival moving back to Hart Plaza for the 40th anniversary, so it's an honor to be here this year as the first podcast to grace the festival stage. Today, we've decided to switch things up a bit and invite members of the audience to come up for a short interview. But first, we have Bryce Detroit here to discuss his Hood Close to Gentrifiers campaign and everything else that he got going on, because he's doing a whole lot. And related efforts in light of all that has been happening around the city. We want to get Bryce's hot take on art, on the cultural happenings in the city, Afrofuturism, and even like the riverfront parks
And
being
shutting
closed
down our neighborhoods. How about that?
Shutting down the neighborhoods and all of that. So, Bryce Detroit, for the second time, welcome to Authentically Detroit.
Thank you, my brother.
The
Peace,
sun,
Donna. Yes.
Yeah, the sun is out. And we are the sun. Donna, how you doing? How you feeling today?
It's great. It's wonderful to be here in Hart Plaza, in our Hart Plaza, in our city, downtown, doing our thing with our people. You know, for so much of the year, we have felt not quite welcome all of the time downtown, but this is us this weekend. I'm really, really honored to be here and to be asked to podcast.
Yeah, this is us. You know what I noticed when I was walking in? You know, that fountain that we rehabbed and fixed, it ain't on right now. Why it ain't on?
Come on now.
Is it, why they don't turn it on for the black folks?
Fountain's closed to black people, I guess.
Hey, City of Detroit, if you listen, turn on that fountain. We want to see the water.
That part. Come on now. Don't get me to take.
What's your hot take on it? Why the fountain ain't on?
Okay, so I'm going to approach this from a spiritual architecture standpoint. Now, the last time that we saw the fountain on was the draft. The draft.
Or movement.
Movement
festival.
So boom. Movement is a certain type of ritual. So was the draft. Water as an element that brings forth life, that nourishes. Water is used in performance rituals as a symbol of that idea, that culture, which we want to be nourished. So it's an intention to watch. Just how about this? Before Bryce even go any further, let's just pay attention for the next 12 months to when they turn that fountain on.
That's somebody's job, because I don't come down to all that stuff. But you know what? I just wanted to remind us all of this. We started movement too.
Yes.
If we start a movement, now we can't afford movement, or at least we're not going to spend our hard-earned money on movement. But yeah, we started it. And now it's become something that is no longer as welcoming or inclusive of our people. So like so many things in Detroit, it's been gentrified.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the hot takes in a minute, but we want to talk about this story. The Wright Museum art exhibition, Double ID, highlights struggles of Black men. This is by Deontay Bedingfield from the Detroit Free Press. The struggles of Black men throughout history and culture are examined in a major art exhibition in Detroit. Double ID, a powerful exhibition bringing together 54 works from the private collection of acclaimed actress and renowned art collector CCH Pounder, is on display through October 20th at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. The show focuses on depictions of Black men through the lens of W.E.B. Du Bois' theory of double consciousness. First presented in W.E.B. Du Bois's 1903 collection of essays, The Souls of Black Folk, Double Consciousness describes the dissonance of Black self-perception within a dominant white society and the conflicting journey to understand oneself as a result. Wright President CEO Neil Barclay formulated the concept for the exhibition. Double ID uses works by an intergenerational group of artists across the African diaspora to paint a multifaceted portrait of Black masculinity and to challenge stereotypes about Black men throughout history and culture. Both emerging and internationally renowned artists are featured in the show, including Greg Bailey. That's my cousin. That's my...
Oh, wow.
No, it's not. I don't know who Greg Bailey. Elizabeth Catlett, Louis Del Sarte, Tuadros Hagos, Sese and Jesselyn Elangweng, Famu Piku, Ebony G. Patterson, Malik Sidibe, Alexi Torres, and Kehinde Wildley. Pounder, an award-winning actress, has starred in such television series as NCIS, New Orleans, and ER, and films including Rustin, Baghdad Cafe, James Cameron's Avatar blockbusters. She became acquainted with Barclay when Barclay was based in New Orleans before signing on with the Wright Museum. Prior to being in Detroit, he was in New Orleans, she recalled, and I had moved from California to NOLA because I had gotten this series. We were required to move lock, stock, and barrel, and so the art collection came with me. The first time I showed it at Xavier University, that was Queen, a show that was here at the Wright before. Neil was instrumental in bringing it from Xavier. We are so thrilled to be back at the Wright Museum showing other aspects of contemporary African diasporic works in our collection. What an exciting story. Donna, what say you?
Well, first of all, let's not forget Mario Moore, whose work is also hometown Mario Moore. We all
love
know
you, Mario.
him.
I fan out every time I see him.
I know, right? I would
shout out to his
him,
mom too, Sabrina Nelson.
I know,
yes.
And his grandmother, Helen Moore.
Helen Moore, the whole family.
That's one of those families that's an iconic, authentically Detroit family right there, right?
Yes.
But listen. I'm biased because I happen to know the guy who led design for that exhibit. We'll be talking to him a little bit later.
To be married to that guy,
happen to be married to him and walked through every step of the process every night when he came home. And I was there for the grand opening. It's absolutely beautiful. It's interesting. There's so many actresses that you see and you don't even know who they are. CCH Pounder, people are like, who is that? But when you see her, you're like, oh, yeah, she's that lady and this, that, and that. So if you don't know her, when you see her, you'll know who she is. A phenomenal woman with just so much class and culture who actually has these artworks in her home, okay? So she has a museum inside of her home. I cannot imagine waking up to that kind of beautiful work. She has a curator in her home who rotates the exhibits inside of her home from, week to week or month to month, depending on her mood. So one day when I grow up, I'm going to be like that. But in the meantime, I encourage everybody to check out Double ID because it really does do a great job of depicting Black men and their glory.
Talk about either one of you, why it's so important to support institutions like the Wright Museum and the exhibits that come in through there. Why is it an important cultural placekeeper in the city of Detroit right now at this time?
The Wright Museum is ours. Sometimes when you have a family, you have family squabbles, but it's our family. It's our
That's real.
museum. And it has a special place in Detroit that no other museum has of actually bringing together our works. Anytime anybody who is well known and famous passes away in Detroit, they lay interstate at the Wright Museum. That's the significance of the way that we all see it. So I think that it's important for us to honor Dr. Wright. I think it's important for us to honor the oldest employee of the Wright Museum, Kevin Davidson, who's been there for 41 years.
Under the tutelage
of Dr.
Charles
Wright. And through ups, downs, and everything, he has been making it happen on the East, in Detroit. So I'm really proud of him. I'm proud of the team. It is on the East Side. That's right. I'm proud of the team. It didn't start on the East Side. It started West, but moved East. And so I think it's important that we give it its recognition. I really pray that we get a millage and the millage supports it so that we can make sure that we maintain it in its full glory. So I'm very proud of the museum. I think you should see the exhibit. And of course, this wonderful festival would not be here without the Charles Wright Museum.
You know, Bryce, I love this, and I love the exhibition. And one of the things that I love about it is that it is bringing together artists from all across the diaspora.
Yes.
I often say that, we're in the blackest city in America, but we Black all over the world. Talk a little bit about that.
Come on now. So just acknowledging the rich, mighty dopeness of our diasporic African continuum, looking at ourselves as ancestors continuing this multi-million-year-old legacy of material culture, of impact, and shaping how the world moves. That is a very real thing. It's a very real point of identity to not only acknowledge, but to wash over us, to root more deeply in. There is a remarkable amount of power that comes from choosing to see ourselves in a way that takes us back further than any colonial narrative.
Yeah.
And that also allows us to see ourselves into the perpetual future.
Yeah.
That too. That's what I was trying to say.
Our dopeness predates colonialism.
Can I just say this?
That's good.
Virgos are deep, aren't we?
I say, come on now. Hey.
Virgos at the table. We don't know how to act. We gotta go deep. We're intense.
We ready.
We don't do small talk. Small talk for what? Turn down for what?
Come on now.
Listen, so we're super, super excited because we got just renowned cultural placekeeper, artist, developer, narrative strategist, Afrofuturist, Bryce Detroit as our guest here at the African World Festival. And Bryce, we want to catch up with you. You've been in the news this week, but you've been doing a whole lot before all of that. Let's catch up. What's going on in the world of Bryce Detroit?
A remarkable amount. Want to shout out my team, Emberly Vick, my Chief Policy Officer. Super shout out Io Thomas, my Chief Programs Officer. What up, though, Detroit Recordings. What up, though, Detroit African CDC. Yo, what up, though, North End?
Hey!
Come on now.
No, hold on. Before you get into this, I have a little bit of history, right?
Yes.
Because I met you at a celebration. It was a reunion of people from Vanguard. And you
how
were
long ago
at
was
Vanguard. This was probably about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
He was at Vanguard just after me, but I feel connected to you through Vanguard because I was there and I was the first executive director of Vanguard.
Wow.
And really helped to hopefully shape some of the old history where we were connecting with the community.
Hopefully. You did
well, so when I saw you or met you, I was like, yeah, I always love to see the superstars rising in the North End and really holding down the culture, even as gentrification attempts to take root. Now go on with your story.
When you meet Bryce, you remember when and how and where you met Bryce Detroit. Because this dude is not only a light, but he is memorable. And the kids say he got the riz. He got the charisma. Go ahead.
These are facts. So one thing that's definitely going on in my life right now is the Detroit Africa 2057 project. What this represents for me, first off, we always have to lead with the fact that Bryce is a whole artist. Me intentionally intersecting in movement and justice me intentionally intersecting with land development, policy, government, that is because the artist, from a classical standpoint, is the philosopher. The philosopher is the one who is the student and scientist of multiple bodies of knowledge. And from this macrocosmic, synthetic, skill sets, we are able to develop particular technologies that help in the moment.
Like language.
Like language.
Language as a technology.
Language as a
Ashe.
technology.
Break it down, okay?
So boom. Now I'm going to take it back to a lot of our backgrounds in the church.
Huh?
Come on now.
Amen.
So one of the first times that a lot of us are introduced to this concept of language as a technology is through scripture. The word precedes the flesh. The word was, let there be light. He said,
And there was.
and there was. So regardless to one's spiritual science, connection, the fact is a lot of us were introduced at a very early age with this foundational concept that language is a particular technology to be used in a particular way, such to the point
To create.
if you don't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. Watch your mouth. We have all these things that
these
come from
things.
our grandmas
Yeah.
that would reinforce this really spiritual reality that language is a technology.
But language as a technology of creation.
Absolutely.
We're going to speak that into
Absolutely.
existence, right?
That's
Period.
That's good.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes.
And so, Bryce, you are well known here in the city of Detroit. You got some celebrity on you. I know you try to
Ashe.
be modest.
Ashe.
You have erected various campaigns. Close to gentrifiers is
Yeah.
one that comes to mind. But even like you said, intersecting your artistry with justice. I first met you and connected with you and instantly became my brother in
Yes.
2017.
Yes, sir.
In Chicago.
Yep.
It took Detroiters going to Chicago to see each other and connect with each other, and we've been bonded ever since. Talk a little bit about some of the notable intersections with your artistry, justice, development, right?
Yes.
Narrative strategy, and even reparations.
Boom.
Yeah.
So there is let me approach it like this. We're in the 21st century. In the 21st century, there is the need for refining, innovating our technologies in the form of our frameworks, technology in the form of our conversations, technology in the form of our ideologies, technology in the form of how we analyze and synthesize information. The 21st century is requiring us to refine and level up these technologies. One technology is our professional skill set.
Yeah.
Now, looking at our professional skill sets, most of us are using words to describe our professional skill sets that come out of the 20th century. They come out of the industrial era. And coming out of the industrial era, society was a certain way, so the roles were designed to fit the social industrial apparatus at the time. Now, we have and there's a little bit of Sankofa that I'm gonna touch on too.
Okay.
But let's bring it to the 21st century. In the 21st century, for instance, we can look at the structural engineer. In the 20th century context, the structural engineer, they looked at houses, they looked at buildings, they looked at four-walled, roofed things in a very particular way. In the world of architecture and development, now in the 21st century, we have structural engineers who are looking at the integrity of neighborhoods as social structures. And they're bringing forth these ideologies and scientific frameworks from mechanical engineering and then projecting through that frame to, in the same way that one of my brothers was Kim Bayo, a chemical engineering major at U of M, and he took his chemical engineering way of seeing things to project that onto culture. He wanted to make the same chemical linkages between human behavior that he was practicing in the laboratory. So the short of it is, or the medium of it, we are looking at our professional skill sets and then seeing how can we adapt them to be of more innovative value, more innovative purpose to these unique socio-political, cultural scenarios of the 21st century.
Okay, that's deep. No, question.
Yes.
Hood is closed to gentrifiers.
Yeah.
But recently, it almost feels like the hood is closed to the hood, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have all the hood parks
Wait,
closed
say
down.
that
Okay,
again.
okay, okay
That
now.
was some language, Donna. That was some
Bar.
language. How the hood gonna be close to the hood?
Come on.
Tell us how.
Okay, we got curfews.
Yeah.
We got curfews.
We have now, anybody who's ever worked in community like I have for all of my life, we've always done block parties to bring people together.
Yes.
And now I'm reading about illegal block parties causing violence, and it is an insult to my intelligence when the violence is not caused by the party, it's caused by the perpetrators, first of all. And if the police have a problem with that, they can come when we call. But they
How
don't
about that?
come when we call, and then they want to shut us down and tell us that we are somehow the problem. It's so disrespectful to me.
And then
When you
prescribe a
look at-
language that ain't true. Talking about illegal block parties. That was not that.
These were not block parties, okay? A block party, we know what a block party is.
Yes, we
A
do.
block party is for the block. You get block parties. I've seen your block
Absolutely.
parties on Instagram, okay? We all get block parties. We know what that is.
I
And
should.
we don't always go to the police to register. First of all, we can't always get through to them.
Come on now.
Secondly, this is our block, our home. When everybody else neglected it, it's still ours. And we take care of other people's lawns. That vacant lot that I don't own, I might be mowing it, I might be taking care of it.
Yep.
That vacant house across the street, I might be watching it, and all of a sudden I'm the problem. And it's so disrespectful. And then, when you look at the fireworks,
Yep.
we can't be in neighborhood parks along the river looking at the fireworks because of violence downtown. It seems to me if the violence was downtown, we should close downtown and go to the hood, right?
Come on
but
now.
we don't do that.
Come on, don't tell the
And
truth.
So,
Don't tell the truth.
so often I'm like one of these people. I think I'm a rebel or something because I've been put off of Belle Isle, put off the Riverwalk, and I was even put off the
Campus
sidewalk
Marshes.
in Campus Marshes. I was standing on the sidewalk talking. They said, you can't stand here and talk. I said, what do I have to do? They say, stand in the street. So I stood in the street and continued my conversation.
There we go.
Put me out here, but why are you putting people out of public spaces when we're not causing harm? This idea that our people are scary, that we are something to be feared. We
And
are
that
not
we
a
don't know how to
scary
act.
people. We don't know how to act. There are people who don't know how to act in every background. When a man shot up 50 people
A splash pad
in LA.
in LA.
Yep.
And
I mean,
then the splash pad in
not in Las
Rochester.
Vegas. They didn't close down a single casino. Those dice kept rolling, everything kept going. But when you have something happen in the hood, we are collectively guilty. The whole city is guilty for what some perpetrators did. And that is what racism looks like. And when you have racist leadership in the city you can't say the word black. Okay, you have a mayor who can't say the word black. He's always, people of color, whatever. If it's anything at all, he doesn't see color. But at the same time, you can behave as though we are N-words, okay? And so I think that we have a need to protect our right to outdoor space, our right to space, our right to exist in Detroit, because it doesn't feel like it's safe.
Yes. Okay, so want to say this. Start off like this. There is a social reality, a socio-political reality that is very important for majority Black Detroit. You can't see me, y'all who hearing this on the podcast, but I got air quotes up.
Air quotes.
Air quote, majority Black Detroit. There's a very real socio-political reality. The reality is that majority Black Detroit is, for some, it's an aberration. It was a new thing that happened between the 50s and the 70s in a particular way because of the number of white people that were moving out. There was a constant, shout out Jamon Jordan because he keep everybody literate. There was a constant trickle of our people starting at the top of the 20th century all the way up to the 70s. Yet it was how many white people moved out because of the real estate campaigns to build the suburbs at that time. The short of it is this: Detroit as a colonial name for Wawiyatanang. So let's honor the land,
The indigenous,
Wawiyatanang,
yeah.
for real. But Detroit is a colonial construct. And since 1701, what has been happening is legislation has been put on the books that has become the fabric, the political fabric upon which the political beams upon which the architecture of this city is constructed. We manufactured a majority black population in a city that was majority white politically, legislatively speaking. The only time that we have in 300-something years an intentional chapter in Detroit's history where pro-us, pro-black thrival legislation and policies were on the books was the Coleman and Young era.
You know, I want people to know, I tell white people this all the time, in all truth. I grew up in that era, right? I remember, I was 10 years old when Coleman Young was elected mayor of Detroit, all right? 10 years old. But I want you to understand this. Anybody who is looking at us and coming back like a savior, when you left, we didn't miss you.
Come on now.
When you left, we did not miss you, okay? You gave us so much space. All of a sudden, we could live in any neighborhood, in any house, as long as we could afford it. We could have any job in government. We walked places, and I used to go to places like Chicago, and they talk about Detroit, and I said, but you know what? It's our city. When you go downtown on that Miracle Mile, you are not wanted. The police are chasing you, okay? And look at it full circle. Here I am feeling like we are just like Chicago downtown. Downtown looks more like Birmingham than Birmingham, Michigan does. Yeah. And that's such a full circle moment because when they left, we missed the money maybe. But I have so many beautiful memories growing up in Detroit. When I graduated from high school in 1981, in Real Talk, we had a conversation about whether racism still existed. Because when you live in a protected environment like that, you might see it on the news, you might experience it when you go somewhere else, but you don't experience it in any real way that harms you. What you see is people are moving on up. You saw so much more upward mobility. Wayne State was just moving people out of the hood and into all kinds of all of the colleges and universities. And so, you know, coming back and saving a people who were already happy with the way things were, minus the disinvestment. Send your money and you stay where you are. But you want to come back, reclaim what we have, rename it, and
throw yourself a
displace
party.
us and throw yourself a big party, invite 750,000 of your friends, and I'm supposed to be standing around cheering because a few of us are infiltrating downtown. But for me, that was not for us. The Union Station is not, Michigan Union is not for us. I look at the hundreds of millions of dollars we're pumping into all of these initiatives that are designed to bring Detroit back when we tell people we cannot afford to remove your dead tree or fix your broken sidewalk. And so I just wanted to say that because I want people to understand that I don't believe our public purse should be used primarily for trying to attract people who decided to walk away. You're supposed to use it to take care of the people who stayed and held it down. And that's not what's happening now.
Correct. One thing that would like to posit to all of us, especially those of us who grew up in a majority black Detroit, because there are those of us in the city, some of our elders, they grew up in a majority white Detroit that was blackening. But for those of us who grew up in a majority black Detroit, I'm just going to say this. We got things effed up in a certain kind of way around the real political. What does it mean to be a majority black city? Well, if we're talking about an ideal scenario, then you have all of the policies on the books, all of the legislation supports the thrival of that majority population. In a city that is a political, how about this? What we're talking about is the distinction between a political majority and a cultural human body majority. what we have been experiencing our life, those of us who grew up in this majority Black Detroit, we've been experiencing this dichotomy of being the human majority, but political legislation representation-wise, a political minority.
But I grew up with Coleman Young as mayor, and Coleman Young took it to the state. But
He did.
until Coleman Young stepped down, there were things they would not do at the state level. They didn't change revenue sharing until Archer became mayor. They didn't change residency laws until Archer became mayor.
Right.
He had clout and influence and knew how to build it in the state. And we have to learn how to rebuild our political clout and influence. And it wasn't just Coleman Young. We had this thing called the Black Slate. And the Black Slate was the engine of Black political power in the city of Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have power at the state legislature the way we wanted to, but understand this, the governor did listen to the mayor. Even when it was Milliken listened to Coleman Young, because Coleman Young knew how to build and knew how to leverage power. And he was a state senator.
I'm going to jump in on that real quick, too.
He was a state senator before he was mayor. And because of that, he brought a lot of political finesse, but it wasn't just him. I also want to honor all of those people in the community who stood him up.
Absolutely. So whenever you hear Bryce say Coleman Young, you hear me really say the Coleman Young administration, which was many, many, many people for decades who were supporting a cultural, political ideology and agenda. Now, the short of it for me is it just revolves around if the policies, if the laws in your city attack you, then that city is not yours.
Yeah.
That city is designed for someone else.
I'm not going to. And I just want to say one more thing. My first job was working for the Community Health Awareness Group on East Grand Boulevard. When HIV/AIDS became an epidemic. George Gaines was working underneath Coleman Young. Linda Campbell was working for him. She hired my mother as the AIDS social worker, and I worked at the Community Health Awareness Group with Ron Turner. We have people coming straight out of the penitentiary working for us as community health outreach workers, or as they call themselves, ethnographers. We did not see the kind of epidemic in Detroit that you saw in New York, LA, Chicago. Detroit was able to hold down the fort. I ran a support group for everybody who was diagnosed. We were getting people housing, and we pushed back against all of the efforts to marginalize us. And so I saw us leveraging power. I agree with you that we didn't have total power, but I saw us leveraging power. And you know what? It's time for us to leverage again. More on the Black Detroit Democracy Project later, because we've got to rebuild our Black power in the city of Detroit. It's not going to happen unless we're intentional, collaborative, and we are fearless in our fight for ourselves.
Bryce Detroit, tell the folks how they can connect with you, what you got going on, anything you want the folks to come to, show up at, what's going on?
Boom. So definitely the socials, Bryce Detroit on IG, Bryce Detroit on Facebook, BryceDetroit.com for sure. What is coming up next? Oh, check me at the DeQuinder Cut, July 17th.
Hey.
Rocking with my family, D-Cypher, as a part of their Black Bottom concert series. This is year 7 for D-Cypher, so super shout out all of my homies, Neek Love Rhodes, Sophia, Wayne. What up, though? But yeah, July 17th, next Wednesday. That is at 6 o'clock. Me, Ipe Best, we're going to have a great time. We have some dopeness happening in September 22nd, which is a Sunday. We have the 3rd annual Bryce Detroit Block Party. Super excited about that.
Make sure you get a permit.
Come on now. You know how we do. Shout out Detroit African Community Development Corporation. You know what I mean? Yes.
Oh, man. Bryce Detroit, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. You made history with us here at the 41st Annual African World Festival.
I think it's your first time here, but it won't be your last.
It's the second
right?
time.
Your second time.
He's been on the podcast one.
Oh, yes. I think one time it was
pandemic time.
It was Zoom. That's right.
It was Zoom.
Anyway, it's great seeing you.
We love
Beautiful
you, Bryce Detroit.
Yes.
Founded in 2021, the Stoudemire is a membership-based community recreation and wellness center centrally located on the east side of Detroit. Membership in the Stoudemire is available on a sliding scale for up to $20 per year or 20 hours of volunteer time. The Stoudemire offers art, dance, and fitness classes, community meetings and events, resource fairs, pop-up events, the neighborhood tech hub, and more. Members who are residents of the East Side have access to exclusive services in the Wellness Network. Join today and live well, play well, be well. Visit ecndetroit.org.
Have you always dreamed of being on the airwaves? Well, the Detroit Eastside Engaged Podcast Network, or DEEP for short, is here to make that dream a reality. Located inside the Stoudemire, the DEEP Network offers studio space and production staff to help get your podcast idea off the ground. Doesn't take a whole lot of work to get started. Just visit the Authentically Detroit page at ecn-detroit.org or call Sarah at 313-948-0344.
Listen, so we have another special guest that we want to bring up. He is the longest standing employee of the Charles H. Wright Museum. He studied and learned under the tutelage of Dr. Charles H. Wright himself. He is the director of Design and Fabrication currently at the Charles H. Wright Museum. And he happens to be the husband of my co-host, Donna Davidson. Can y'all give it up for Kevin Davidson? Woo! Woo! Y'all see Kevin walking on stage, waving.
You know,
Look at this smile on your face, Donna Davidson. You smiling, you cheesing hard.
That's my sweet baby over here.
So, you know, Kevin, we get started. We're talking about Double ID, but I think it would be important for us to talk about the formation, the early days of this festival, your relationship with this festival, and how it's changed over the years, even before we start talking about the exhibit.
Well, the festival actually grew out of what was an art festival on Washington Boulevard before the festival was established. And what I mean by that is, as an artist myself, I participated in that art fair on Washington Boulevard. And when the city approached the museum about doing this African World Festival, we essentially pulled all of those artists who were on Washington Boulevard over to Hart Plaza, you know, to become the foundation of what is now the marketplace here.
What year was that?
And that was 1983.
Wow. And so what was your role, and how did it change? How has this changed over the years?
My role initially was to put together this exhibit in the museum's cultural gallery and to also work with Carl Owens on the design of the first African World Festival poster. The man in a mask, I think we referred to it. It's iconic at this point. That particular poster.
It's hanging in our living room,
and
right?
It's hanging in so many other living rooms, you know, throughout the country. Over the years, my role sort of changed from working, you know, to put together this cultural gallery to putting up signage all around the festival. And finally, in 1996, I was tapped to run the festival as chair. And that year, I had an opportunity to build the marketplace and increase funding for the festival and raise $360,000 to put the festival on. I raised another $85,000 just for advertising. And so back then, you know, it was JLB that was popping the hardest. And so every 5 minutes, with that $85,000, every 5 minutes, they were advertising the African World Festival in 1996. And the city literally had to put out an advisory to tell people to stop coming downtown, because we had over 1 million people that weekend, and it just got to a point where it was so overcrowded that it got dangerous. Yeah.
So, Kevin, talk a little bit about the journey back to Hart Plaza, because for a while it was at the Wright. And then we had this whole conversation and discourse last year when it returned to Hart Plaza. There were some folks who were mad that it was returning to Hart Plaza. But this was
the original home, the original birthplace of the African World Festival. And, over the years, there was this lack of investment in the infrastructure here on Hart Plaza. And so, we had, like when I ran the festival in 96, we had something like 17 kitchens downstairs. And it seemed like every year after that, they were closing 2 kitchens at a time until there were no more kitchens down there. Things started crumbling, and then, there were some political issues here and there, and the cost just became so exorbitant that it was difficult for organizers to produce any of the festivals down here. And so it just made more sense for us, I think economically, to move the festival to the museum's grounds. And so as administrations changed and the city was looking at building up the number of festivals coming downtown and building those audiences through the festival, they made it more welcoming for us festival organizers. So we returned.
Let's talk about the double ID exhibit. So Donna tells me that she was a thought partner of yours when you were coming home from work, just sort of thinking about what it would do, what it would look like, how it will be erected. So talk to us about it. How long is it going to be at the Wright? Why is it important for everyone to come see it?
Not necessarily a thought partner, but I was in the audience.
You're always a thought partner.
Donna is always a thought partner because she's got, she's thinking all the time. Even when she sleeps, she's thinking. But it's built from the collection of CCH Pounder, the actress. And she's been collecting works for decades. It's initially starting collecting with her husband and continued on after he passed. And so she has produced a number of traveling exhibitions that have been going around the country and indeed around the world. The first one was called Queen, that we brought to Detroit, and it featured paintings and drawings and sculptures related to women, to Black women. It was a beautiful exhibition. And at that time, we had already begun to think about, the next exhibition from her. And so I think now it's about 2 years now. But 2 years ago, we went down, took a look at her collection and made some selections. And so, lo and behold, this exhibit has arrived. And it's focused on men. The double ID concept comes from W.E.B. Du Bois. And it really speaks to this double consciousness that Black men live with, in this country. And around the world where, you have to put forth a face and a personality that's different from the one you live with every day in order to get along and to survive.
So talk about that for a minute, because I think there's some specific things about the mask. We all wear masks. The mask Black men wear that's different from the mask that Black women wear. Can you talk about that at all?
I can say that, Donna and I talk about this often, but, when I'm just simply driving down the road, I've got this mask on, when I'm looking to the right and looking to the left for police. Some people will go their entire lives without ever being stopped by the police. I can't recall at all how many times I've been stopped by the police during my lifetime. It's been so many times. you know, and that's just an example of how you put on a mask in different situations.
What is a mask, though? It
Lord
feels
have
like the
mercy.
mask a lot of times is a mask of being non-threatening, being somebody who you have to prove to somebody your humanity.
Or the conversation we were having the other day about learning how to be black in front of white people white people with power, particularly police. There's the different
Yeah.
it's a different way to be black with the police.
Yeah, absolutely. That's that mask I'm talking about right there.
Yeah.
That's it right there. But, you know, when you go in a grocery store or you go into a department store, you know, you're at Sears. I don't even know if they're still open, or any kind of
Saks.
Hudson's or
Macy's.
whatever.
Talking about
Macy's.
Macy's. You date us, Kevin. Okay.
Kevin.
How about Crawley's?
The kids be in Saks and Neiman Marcus and in
Right.
Macy's.
Okay.
That's where they be.
How about
at,
I
Kevin.
just say H&M? How about that?
Hey, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't feel it so much now, but certainly, over so many years, you walk in the store and, you put on a certain kind of mask because, you don't want to be threatening and you don't want to trigger security and those people who have a tendency to want to follow you around the store to see, what you are up to because you become some sort of suspicious character. And so you put on this mask, to try and neutralize that so you can just, handle the basic business of going in there and just try to buy something.
Yeah.
I just thought about something. I thought about the mask, and I thought, what was so scary for me the first time we recorded Authentically Detroit, and you played it without me being able to go back and change anything.
Yeah.
Because on Authentically Detroit, we take off our mask. And it's so scary because this is me unmasked, and I could never let people know this side of me. These are conversations you have in your living room or with your friends or whatever. You don't have these conversations on a platform where people can actually see you. And especially for me, running a nonprofit and always having to be worried about funding, letting people see me, especially because people have already told me to tone police myself and to, tone it down, was really, really scary. There's that verbal mask that we wear. Speaking of verbal technology, I was just thinking about the verbal mask that we wear, Orlando, and the fact that we're unmasked in this space.
Ooh, Kevin, you ever experienced that as a black man? And one of the things that I would just add on to what we're saying, I think we often see, or black men are often portrayed as one-dimensional.
Yeah.
And so for at our exhibition to depict the complexity and the nuances of masculinity and black men and the way that we emote, the way that we show up, and the way that we love and desire to be cared for
Absolutely.
is palpable, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love the way you described that,
Yeah.
because as you were saying those words, there were several images that came to my mind that are included in this exhibit, Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we're dealing with, stereotypes.
Is that what artists do? Do artists really good artists reveal truths like the humanity behind the mask? And because we went to another exhibit,
They revealed that,
at
but they
Cranbrook.
also reveal that truth, but they also reveal what we can be.
Right. I remember there was an exhibit at Cranbrook.
Oh, Mario's
remember
exhibit?
that? It was that Mario's exhibit?
Mario Moore's exhibit.
Yeah.
It was a group exhibit.
It was
It
a group of people, and you sort of
Him and
saw those
Jonathan and-
dualities
Yeah.
of manhood in the
Yes.
same
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
way.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
Tell the people why we need more of that.
I think that, well, let me just start, first of all, by saying that there's this burgeoning, culture among galleries throughout Metro Detroit that seem to be uplifting and supporting African-American artists, And so it's become a great resource now for Black artists. A lot of them are men. to be able to showcase their works and to sell pieces, you know. And so I'm excited about that. Just seeing, you know, how supportive these galleries and institutions have been toward African American
the support
artists.
ecosystem is widening.
Yeah, it is.
That's
it
good.
is.
That's good.
It is.
Because I think Black men have to be able to see ourselves in those ways.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
But even more importantly, young Black children, young Black boys have to be able to see themselves.
And maybe even the little girls, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of times what we're exposed to and what our culture pushes on us is the hard, you know, man, the man who is without feelings, and that becomes the image of what men are supposed to be.
Right.
And that's certainly something that a lot of our popular culture is, you know, the people who decide what goes into popular culture decide that they choose artists and these kind of aesthetics to highlight. So I think it's significant when we have other resources for little boys and little girls to look and say, this is a full human being. Some of us did not grow up in our households with men who brought who showed their full humanity even inside their homes because of trauma and scars that they lived with. And so some of us never had a chance to see beyond the outside.
Right.
You're talking, and there's so many things like resonating with me. Like I love conversations like these because I think I think they serve as an impetus once again, especially for Black men, to aspire to something, to recognize our current condition, and if the current condition isn't conducive to your thrival, knowing that you can pivot, knowing that there is a level of humanity that you can reveal and that you will be cared for, that there is a community that is open and willing and ready to catch you, right? I had to learn that, right? Donna, you've learned that, as you know, when we started this podcast.
Oh my goodness.
Right? Because there was, when we decided that we were going to do the podcast, we decided that the podcast would be an as live podcast. That means we record live and we release it unedited. And that was a really, really scary thing. But what happened?
You know, what's really funny is I found out that people like me better without the mask. I've been walking around with this mask all this time in self-protective mode.
Yeah.
And the reality is the mask is something that you can also choose to take off.
Right.
And so, you know, when you get to a certain age, you start taking it off anyway, right? It's like, okay, you know, you've seen it. Women of a certain age no longer care too much about it because we spend so much time containing and holding in our feelings and our thoughts and ideas, trying to conform. But I think that what I found through this is that not only did it liberate me, but it liberates other people.
Yes.
Orlando, when we were at your mocktail event, this young woman came up to me and she said, "I love the podcast."
I know who
and
you're talking about.
You know
Deanne
what?
Austin?
You know, don't
It's
give me a
Deanne
name.
Austin.
Okay.
I want to shout out Deanne Austin.
Okay, Deanne Austin.
A long-standing fan of the pod.
Right. Okay. So I don't know names, but I know what she looks like. And she came to me and she said, "I love the podcast is because when you say things that other people want to say and you help be, I don't remember her exact words, but what I took it as, I made her feel seen and like I was speaking on her behalf." And so I think the other thing about double consciousness is we are so afraid of disrupting power right now. There's certain things you just don't say. You don't criticize the mayor. We went through, you know, I've been on social media since 2009. And we went through emergency management and nobody was talking about it, really. I mean, you had a couple, you know, radicals saying things. We went through so many things and there's just silence. There was the whole prosecution of the mayor of Detroit and people didn't talk about it. People talked among themselves. I remember going to a party at Gail Perry Mason's house and this man looked at me and he says, "I now understand how the Holocaust happened because people are silent when there's oppression." And so, I think that we have been masked politically. I think that we are now more free politically, and I'm really proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that Authentically Detroit has provided a platform for that.
What a blessing. What a gift.
It is it's one of
tremendous
those
gift.
things. If you'd asked me when I was younger if this would ever happen, I would say no. So I pinch myself because now I feel as though I can be seen and heard and be me, and I don't have to play games like I used to feel like I had to play for fear of, being chastised. I also think we're in a different era now, though.
Yeah.
I think that we're at a point when so many people are so frustrated with things that sometimes it's hard to articulate. You read the paper, you read about shutting down block parties, and a lot of times it hits you wrong, but you're not even quite sure why. At Authentically Detroit, we take the time to really think through why.
And explore
and
our
then
thoughts.
explore our thoughts and then put them out there so that people can actually hear, oh, wait a minute, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was feeling. We're taught sometimes not to feel what we feel, not to see what we see. And I think what we try to do is unmask the truth also.
Right.
So Double ID is an important exhibit. The museum is important. We talked about it before you were here. Can you talk about why the Charles Wright Museum is an important Detroit institution?
Yeah.
Charles Wright Museum, of course, founded by Dr. Charles Wright, who was OBGYN here in Detroit. He traveled to Africa, and he was exposed to the culture of Ghana and noticed that they had little small museums there dedicated to their history and culture.
Yeah.
He discovered the same thing when he traveled to Denmark, and he seemed to be impressed with this one person who was a security guard, but that same person could take him through the entire exhibit. He knew everything about what was in that museum because, he's Dutch. He's a security guard, but this is his history, and he has embraced it. And Dr. Wright was impressed with all of that. But Dr. Wright was also a civil rights activist. And during the civil rights movement of the 60s, when Bloody Sunday occurred, Dr. Wright was down there as one of the attending physicians. Treating people, when they hit them with the water cannons, the batons, and just beat these kids and women and men down there. He was there as one of the attending physicians. And he took that fire and, that the dedication of all of those people down there sacrificing their bodies and sacrificing their lives, for our rights, our right to vote, our right to sit at a counter and have breakfast, our right to drink water at any water fountain and use restrooms, and on and on. And so he came back to Detroit the next day and convened a group of a variety of different citizens from around Detroit to found the Charles Wright Museum of African American History, which started off as the International Afro-American Museum.
It's ours, as you said.
It's ours. It's ours. It's in, what has been the blackest city in America, and Dr. Wright was concerned about Black people, particularly the youth, knowing as much about their history as possible, because that's part of who they are. And they need to understand that, know where they come from. They need those stories that uplift them and know that they made a contribution to, the creation of this nation, to all of the different movements and, civil rights movements and, the founding of this nation, Crispus Attucks taking, the first bullet.
And, this is a culminating
All the way
Alexander Young Appreciation podcast. Because I want to imagine the Charles H. Wright Museum being what it is under any other mayor in the city of Detroit. It would not be possible.
Yeah.
I want to think about the fact that he not only generated the funds, but also put it in the city budget.
Mm-hmm.
He also hired Black architects and engineers to build and design it. I just can't, I can't speak enough about the significance of a mayor who made that possible and the city where it happened. And when you look at Detroit today, we don't have much time, but I just want to say, when you look at Detroit today, we need to do the work to make sure that Detroit tomorrow can continue doing great things for our people, because the museum is super important. Everybody, we're hoping that this gets on the millage gets on the ballot so we can vote for it and we can increase the funding and we can support it like we support the DIA.
That's right.
With all those
And the
resources.
zoo.
And the zoo.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, so that's it.
All right. So if you have topics that you want to discuss on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or you can email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. It is time for a special set of shout outs. Donna, do you have any shout outs?
Yes. Listen, shout out to Kyrie Frazier.
Kyrie Frazier!
Let me say this. Kyrie Frazier is such a great partner in everything we do.
That's our
Playlist
homie.
Live, our homie.
That's our
we
guy.
reached out to him yesterday. It occurred to us we didn't have an
We
engineer
need an
today.
audio engineer, Kyrie.
Kyrie came here, and he didn't just plug stuff up. He was actually solving problems, setting it up. Thank you, Kyrie.
All
Really
right.
appreciate
We
it.
love you, Kyrie Frazier, as always.
Shout out to our producer, Sarah.
Sarah Johnson!
Sarah came out here and helped make everything happen, make sure that always
Don't look at us like
organized
that before
us.
we make you come get on this
Right.
This
microphone.
is our third live podcast this week. And so we really want to say thank you for
She
making that
earned
happen.
the check this
Yeah.
week. I'm trying to tell you. Kevin, you got any shout outs?
Shout out to, the Charles Wright Museum of
Yes.
African American History and the African World Festival.
Yes.
This is year number 41. I've been with the Charles Wright Museum for the same number of years, 41 years. And, I think it's just absolutely wonderful that it has lasted this long, that, our people have come out to support it. And it's the people who have kept it alive because it means so much to us, each one of us personally. So shout out.
I want to shout out Kevin Davidson. I have a few favorite moments in my occupation as a journalist and as an interviewer. And one of them was interviewing you on television for Detroit PBS about the Wright Museum and telling their history. And Donna, I want you to know that they only had me slated to give Kevin Davidson about 10 minutes on this interview. And we talked for maybe 45.
Yeah, that's
and so only 15 minutes of the interview got aired on television, but the interview was so good that they posted the entire thing on YouTube. Go check it out if you haven't.
Yeah.
But it's always an honor and a privilege to talk to you and pick your brain and hear the history.
I
that you
appreciate
have.
that.
I mean, you are a library.
Yeah,
You
thank
are a
you.
library. We're
Thank
so
you.
grateful for you. Again, we want to shout out the African World Festival and the Charles H. Wright. We're making
Yes.
history for being the first podcast in 41 years to broadcast live from here. We don't got Radio 1 backing us. We don't got Clear Channel
First and
backing
number
us.
one.
We are completely independent, and it is an honor to be here. Shout out to Zubair Vernon, one of the organizers with the Wright, for asking us to come on. And shout out to our
he took his
no
mama's
longer our intern, but just a supporter of the podcast who's been with us all week, except for today, Jalen Fields, who, helped make everything we did this week possible as well.
Yes.
And so until next time, Detroit, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you.